Hey guys, look, this may only be of interest to a handful of you, but I figure I may as well film it. I've got the new Nintendo Switch OLED model. Now, we're a Nintendo Switch family. We've got little kids. Well, they're getting bigger now, as they do, but we've always just found that Nintendo products, they adhere a little bit better to our personal ethos about the internet and kids. Our kids don't go on YouTube, for example. They don't go on basically the internet without us being aware of what they're doing. We're probably a bit like, we always liken ourselves to Flanders a little bit in terms of like, maybe we're sheltering our kids too much, but then, I don't know, the stuff that I've looked at on the internet when I was probably not quite ready. Anyway, as an aside, Nintendo products are always the most difficult to get just randomly exposed to some garbage on the internet for your 9-year-old. So we've always been Nintendo for the last few years anyway. I've got a PS4 and I've got a few other things, but and I like the games on Nintendo as well. I've always been Zelda, Mario. Lately they're getting some good Atlas stuff, so Persona, Strikers, they've got Shin Megami Tensei 5, all sorts of games that I like, and they're good games that you play with your family, all that stuff. That wholesome thing is still relatively applicable with Nintendo. So we've got Switch, and we've done a couple of Switch Lites for our kids. The Switch Lites were not particularly successful in my opinion. They're sort of made for being a younger person's console, but then the inherent flaw is that when things go wrong with the buttons, such as the joystick drift, you can't just quite easily get a new Joy-Con and slot it on. It's all, being a one-piece unit, is not as good as it seemed like it was going to be at first. This one's still going okay, but it's been replaced. In fact, we've had two Switch Lites, a yellow and a green one, and they both were replaced once. So would probably not do that again. But the Switch has been great, and the OLED Switch is like the bigger version of it with a nicer screen and a few little improvements. So let's get it out. So that is the console there. And I'll do these side by side next to each other in a second. Let's go to a bit of a better camera angle, Babs. It's the console there. And this is the white version. We've got the two white Joy-Cons, which is nice. I don't have white Joy-Cons yet. So there we go. Comes with the dock, which I believe is also white. There we go. And it comes with the cables, HDMI, one of these controllers so you can put your Joy-Cons in to make them like a controller, which we have the Pro controllers anyway, but these actually do a fairly good job at a pinch when you're playing some Smash Brothers or something and you want to have a bit more of a traditional controller experience. And then these two little bits go on the ends of the Joy-Cons when you're using them alone to make them a bit more rounded in the hand. Well, let's fire it up. I'll get a data transfer going. So with the Switch, you can transfer all your data from one to the next when you move up models or whatever. And the only issue ever was that Animal Crossing, which is what my kids and my wife will love playing, Animal Crossing was always stuck on the actual unit. And that's been changed recently. You just get a specific little app from the store, which is free, to move your island to the new console that you're getting. Because I think there was a fair few kids that got Switch Lites with that ended up getting stick drift and ended up losing the Animal Crossing island. My daughter was the same, and she was devastated when that happened. So let's get it all going, fire it up, and then I'll show you how it looks next to each other. And this should be a very short video, so. All right, so let's just talk about the differences, I suppose. So as you see here, the screens, whilst the units are virtually the same size, the screen is bigger just by virtue of not having as much of this black letterboxing on the new Switch, which it's nice. It's also much more vivid, cooler white light type display, which you really notice in the handheld mode, especially in the dark. It seems pretty well done. You can also, we've always been able to do this, but you can roll the brightness up and down pretty easily. Mechanically speaking, under the hood, very little difference. There's a larger internal storage, so you can not only use, you've always been able to put an SD card in, but the internal memory of the Switch is also 64 gig now rather than 32, and you can put a little SD card in there. So I roll a 64 gig SD card, and so basically you can store more or less every game that I want to store, and you just delete them and re-download them as you go. In terms of the top, the buttons are sort of flatter and slightly different looking. One weakness in this new design that I do not like is the game card slot. The game card slot feels even flimsier than it did on the existing model Switch, and it doesn't have a good nail nick to get it out. It's got a nail groove, but I got working. I dug up my septic tank yesterday, and I keep my nails very short, and so therefore a little bit tricky to get it open, and just these always feel so flimsy. But anyway, what's improved though for sure is the dock, or the docking mode, or I guess the standing mode. So it's a much longer piece of plastic now that sort of sits out the back, and it's a little bit more adjustable as well. So you can rest the Switch upright like that now. We always have been able to, and you can disconnect your controllers, and they all sort of speak to each other, and they're all wireless, and there you go. So you can run around and whatnot. It's my Pokemon Sword file started fresh there. So that's cool, because the original Switch stand is minuscule. It's this tiny little door here that almost feels like, I didn't even realize that it was supposed to be the stand. And again, another one of those kind of flimsy feeling components. And you put the SD card in under that, but it does work, but it just is definitely not as stable as this big old back platform here. Much better indeed. Man, I'm not a tech reviewer. I suck at this. So there we go. So yeah, like, the reason we got the new OLED Switch is because it was the new version, and we were up for a new Switch anyway. It's like, my kids don't have iPads, they don't have their own phones, they don't have anything. The Switch is like their device. And so, we try and keep them up to date, and we try and keep them in good working order. The Switch Lites, we've just been put off of them slightly by the issues where if the Joy-Con goes, which is then you need to send the whole thing off, and sometimes you need to get a whole new one, and then you lose your Animal Crossing island, or it's not as efficient as just being able to get 2 new Joy-Cons. Most annoying thing about Nintendo is the online system, like the user system is really problematic, just in terms of having to register your family, but there's always issues with playing the same things at the same time if they're downloadable content. So you can go and get an expanded family membership, which we've done, which is good. Then I seem to be able to play everything online at the same time as my kids. So if we've both got a downloadable game, so if I've got Skyrim going and my kids are playing, Tetris 99 or something like that, then it doesn't cancel each other out, which it used to. Nintendo are really backwards and old-fashioned with that sort of thing. It's not like Apple, where it just does it all straight away, and like even some of the advanced Android systems, nothing like that. It's really clunky. So transferring this Animal Crossing island from my daughter's Switch Lite to this Switch fucking sucked. I had to just dick around with making accounts, and it just is not easy. Not easy at all. It feels like it's from about 10 years ago, how things all used to be a bit hard 10 years ago, but now everything is kind of plug and play. So a few critiques there of Nintendo in general, but look, overall, I think out of the big 3 consoles, you get the most bang for your buck out of the Switch. The PlayStation and the Xbox kind of fight for the same crowd. The Switch is sort of, I think, for everyone. I'm pretty casual nowadays with my gaming. Literally just play in the car when I'm waiting to pick the kids up from things, or before I go to bed, if wife falls asleep before me or something, I'll play Switch. It's not a huge part of what I do during the day. I've got a lot else on, but that being said, I haven't had the urge to go and dig out the PS4 in a couple of years now, since Final Fantasy VII Remake came out and Persona 5 and whatnot. So anyway, just my thoughts on gaming. Not that you probably care, but overall, OLED Switch, pretty happy with it. But then again, I wouldn't feel too bothered if there's only these available. Getting one of these, it's going to do the same thing really. It's just if you love your handheld Switch or you play it like this a lot, then you probably will notice the slightly nicer screen. I mean, since you're still here, you might care what I'm playing at the moment. I'm playing Pokemon Sword and Shield at the moment, or Sword. Pokemon Sword kind of sucks, but it's still a solid enough Pokemon fundamental game. It could have been so much better, and it's just so easy, and there's so much hand holding. It's been 25 years. I think we all know how to play a Pokemon game, and it's like an hour at the start, just getting you to the point where you're out and doing your own thing. Kind of frustrating, but once you're into it, I've got the expansion packs as well, which seem kind of cool. A bit more to do, so it's fine. It passes the time. Shin Megami 5, I kind of got stuck on. I got to a point I hadn't saved for a while, and then I died. And it's like have to replay like 2 hours of, an hour and a half of just the worst. It's immersive, so you play and you forget to save because the save menu is quite complex. Well, there's like 4 different things you do at the save menu, and so you do all those first, and then you're like, did I save? Yeah, I did, and you didn't. So kind of in a bit of a mood with that game at the moment. I'm going to start an Animal Crossing Island to play with my daughter soon, so that's fun. I did Metroid Dread. I beat that the other week. That was really, really good. Probably best game of the year so far, Metroid Dread. So good. Every now and then I dig out my old Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild file, which has like everything done on it, and just run wild in that and go and beat up Lynels and stuff. That's always a bit of fun. I've tried Doom Eternal on the Switch. I don't like it for handheld, so But apart from that, that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. So yeah, not a knife video, so thank you for indulging me if you did, and otherwise there'll be more knife content soon. See ya.